Hey guys! This evening we're going to be going a little bit further into our fraction and whole number multiplication. So before we get started, let's take a look at our essential question. How can you find the product of a fraction and a whole number without using a model? Okay, within our previous lesson we kind of used circled models and we also used the bar models. Well, this time we're going to be figuring out how we can answer those without actually using a model. So let's take a look at our word problem. Charlene has 5 1-pound bags of different color sands. For an art project, she will use 3/8 pound of each bag of sand to create a colorful sand art jar. How much sand will be in Charlene's sand art jar? Well, the very first thing we need to do is figure out what our question is within our word problem and underline it. So, let's kind of take a look. It says, how much sand will be in Charlene's sand art jar? So we need to figure out how much sand there will be all together. So let's go back and look at some other key information within our word problem. It says Charlene has 5 1-pound bags of different colors. So that's kind of a key thing. We'll circle that. 5 1-pound bags of different color sands. For an art project, she will use 3/8 pounds of each bag. And we know when we see each, that typically either means multiplication or division, and we kind of have to go through the word problem to figure out which one we would be doing. So since we're starting in groups of 5, and we know that each group has 3/8 pound, we know that that's going to be multiplication. So we know that we will be using multiplication to solve it. So let's go over here to the side, and it says, how much sand is in each bag? Well, if we go back over here, it says we have 3/8 pound of sand in each bag. So we know that how much sand is in each bag is 3/8, or 1 pound. I'm sorry, 1 pound. Because it says that she has 5 1-pound bags of different colors of sand. Now the next question, will Charlene use all of the sand in each bag? Well, over here it says she will use 3/8 pound of each bag of sand. So the answer to that would be no. She will only use 3/8 pound from each bag. Now, to get started, we're going to multiply a fraction by a whole number. Kind of exactly like we did in the last chapter, except this time we're not going to be using the models. So it says to shade the model to show 5 groups of 3/8. Well, if you look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups, and we need to shade 3/8 from each group. So let's go ahead and shade 3/8. And again, this may not be exact, but you guys can have an idea. It's not going to be perfect. Okay, so we've taken and we have shaded 3/8 here, 3/8 here, 3/8 here, 3/8 here, and 3/8 here. So now we could rearrange the shaded pieces to fill as many holes as possible. So we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in each of these down here. So if we have 3/8, we would shade 3/8 down here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, that's 1 3/8. Now we also have 3/8 in this group, so we're going to shade another 3 within this. So it's going up. Okay, so far we have 6/8 shaded. Now we have 3 more 8s, so we need to shade another 3. And since we've only got 2 here that haven't been shaded, we got to do 1 at the bottom here. Not perfect, but you guys got the idea. Now we have another 3/8. So we got to do 3 more shaded. And we still have 1/3/8 left over. So now we need to shade 3 more 8s. So now if we look at this, we've got 5 groups of 3/8. We have all together one whole that has been shaded, and we have 7/8 of the second one. So we know that 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8, or 5 times 3/8 equals one whole and 7/8 of another whole. So there are 1 and 7/8 pounds of sand in Charlene's art project. Now let's come over here to this side and let's kind of go through. So it says to write an expression to represent the problem. Well, if we do that, it's 5 times 3/8. And as we learned yesterday, anytime you have a whole number, you can take that whole number over 1. It just makes it so much easier when you go to multiply. So when we're looking at that, we know that 5 times 3 equals 15, and 1 times 8 equals 8. So our fraction is 15/8. And since 15 is greater than 8, we know that is a fraction greater than 1. So now it says to write the answer as a mixed number in simplest form. Well, we know in order to find the mixed number, which is a whole number and a fraction together, in order to find that, we would take our 15/8, and we're going to take our numerator, which is 15, divided by our denominator. We know 8 goes into 15 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. 15 minus 8 is 7, and our denominator stays the same at 8. So we know that is 1 and 7/8. Okay, class, let's take another example of multiplying a whole number by a fraction. So let's take a look at our word problem. Kirsten brought in 4 loaves of bread to make sandwiches for the class picnic. Her classmates used 2/3 of the bread. How many loaves of bread were used? Well, first of all, let's take a look at what it is we need to answer. And the question is, how many loaves of bread were used? So we're going to use our models, and we're going to model to show 2/3 of 4. And we know that 2/3 of 4 is the same thing as 2/3 times 4. So let's take a look at our models. Notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different models. So that's our whole number of 4. So in order to show the 2/3, we have to divide this model into 3 parts. Each one of them has to be divided into 3 parts. So let's go ahead and do that now. So now you can see that we have each of our loaves of bread divided into 3 parts. So the next part we need to do, we need to show the 2/3. So since our numerator is 2, we need to shade 2 pieces for each of those loaves of bread. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now you can see that we have 2 pieces out of the 3 shaded for each of the 4 loaves of bread. So the next thing it says is to rearrange the shaded pieces to fill as many holes as possible. Well, in order to do this, again, we're going to have to divide each of these 4 loaves into 3 pieces. So let's go ahead and do that now. So now we're going to take our shaded pieces from the top, and we're going to shade it into these, but we're going to do it in a manner to get as many full loaves as possible. So let me show you what I'm talking about. First of all, we have 2 pieces from this loaf. So down at the bottom, we are going to shade in 2 pieces. Now you notice we have 2 pieces from this loaf. So again, we're going to shade 2 more pieces. So we're going to shade 1 here and then 1 here to give us our 2 pieces. Now we have 2 pieces from this loaf right here. So again, we're going to shade 2 pieces on this loaf right here. And lastly, we have 2 pieces from this loaf right here, so we're going to shade 2 pieces over here to give us our wholes and our portion of what's left over. So to answer our question, you can see that 2 wholes were used and 2 pieces out of this 3 on this third loaf were used. So our answer is 2 and 2/3 loaves of bread were used. So let's go on over to this other side and let's write out our expression. So write an expression to represent the problem. And as you can see, 2/3 times 4. There were 4 different loaves, 2/3 from each loaf were used. So you're going to multiply 4 by the number of third size pieces in each whole. Then write the answer as the total number of third size pieces. So to do that, we're going to take our 2 from our numerator times 4, which is our whole number, over our denominator. And 2 times 4 is 8. Our denominator stays the same, so move it over to thirds. So 2/3 times 4 is 8/3. Now it says to write the answer as a mixed number. Remember, that is a whole number and a fraction. So in order to write that as a mixed number, we have to take our numerator, which is 8, divided by our denominator. We know that goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. The 2 now becomes the numerator again, and the 3 stays as the denominator. So we know that our 8/3 now equals 2 and 2/3. Now I want you to try these 2 on the bottom on your own and be prepared to discuss them when you come to class tomorrow. Now for your password to bring with you to class tomorrow, I need you to solve 3 and 272,000th times 3/10. And remember, in 3 and 272,000ths, there are 3 places to the right of the decimal. In 3/10, there is 1 place to the right of the decimal. So make sure that you get your decimal point in the correct location in your answer. See you in class tomorrow.